The Namibian newspaper runs an internship program to train young reporters and experts in the field of economics, tax, accounting, and community journalism. The internship duration varies from 3 to 12 months, offering a chance to learn the basic skills from research, interpreting documents and data, including working at the Namibian's daily newsroom. The newspaper's daily newsroom accommodated 13 interns since 2017, 9 of who were trained under the investigative unit, and 4 who are now permanently employed at the Namibian. The program is advertised once a year. Others are selected based on special circumstances, like special skills or their proactiveness.
We want to keep moving, stay in the game. And you can't do that if you don't blood your organization with new ideas, young people, new ways of doing things. So the internship program is both about bringing in young people mainly who will learn our ways of doing things, and therefore we create a huge pool across the country to hire people who can work here, but also to have those young people bring in their fresh ideas for how to do things. You will be amazed. Some people were saying we've got too many interns, yet you look at the paper, the quality of the work that they are doing shows that these are people who are bringing in good work from completely different perspective, which we probably wouldn't have had if we were just waiting for finished products, as they say.
My name is Shinovena Emmanuel. I'm the editor of the Investigative unit, and I'm also responsible for internships at the Namibian. That we always look for is the self-drive, because we believe that is what will take you 3, 4, 5, 6 years later. When you are running out of steam, you will need the self-drive. So often when you select people, we look at how passionate the person is, how the person can work on their own, how the person can sacrifice certain things in life, because the truth is this is not the best paying job.
My name is Arlana Shikongo. I started my internship in March of 2019. I was hired in multimedia, which works with the news desk. I studied journalism for 4 years at Ithaca College in upstate New York. Going into it, I knew that I wanted to do something that combined writing with my other subject interests in socio-political issues and economics. So I minored in economics as well. I've always known that I wanted to do something that helps communities and tells their stories, brings problems and highlights social issues. And I felt like journalism was a good crossbreed between my interest in writing and my care for people. A typical day looked like coming in and uploading the newspaper. A huge part of what we do with multimedia is take our print copy and put it on the website so that people have access to it online, as well as sharing it to our social platforms like Facebook and Twitter. So I start my day off, usually about 3 to 4 hours goes into that, because people think, when the story is already written and prepared, that's kind of the end of it. But when you're putting something online and you're preparing it for a digital platform, you also have to think about the visuals and how it's going to look, and that sort of presentation, which takes a lot of creative mind and just a lot of creative thinking. Once I'm done doing that, I usually go into working on my stories. So I have about half the day to meet deadline for whatever it is that I pitched that morning. We usually start our day off with our diary, where everyone just tells the news desk what to expect from them. And then you work towards that and try to make deadline before 5 o'clock. Well, my experience before working for the Namibian was mostly in weekly news, which has a very different timeline than a daily newspaper. So the thing that surprised me the most was having to adapt to working on a story within a day usually. Because sometimes, you pitch something and it's something that they really want for the next day, or it's something that's very time sensitive. So you don't really have a week to work on it, and you don't really have a week's time, to talk to sources. So it was very interesting to come into a space where it's just kind of seeing people be very nitty-gritty and very fast-paced and having to be go-getters to really try to get comment or more information on something. A lot of times people think that, you know, they have all the time in the world to respond to something, but you really have to push people to be like, this is important information that we have to get out there, your voice is important, but I need that today, not tomorrow, not in 2 weeks, I need it today. So it's been very interesting working with that sort of time frame in mind. Aside from that, I expected to come in, you know, just knowing the Namibian and the reputation that it has in the country, you would think that everyone in the newsroom is just constantly serious. But I think that my colleagues are very playful. They're fun people to be around, and I really enjoy that they find time in the day to also laugh and, you know, not take themselves too seriously all day and interact with each other. I think it's important when you're thinking about exploring journalism to realize that it's a lot of hard work, and you really need to be someone that's actively a go-getter. You have to be able to work on your own in a lot of circumstances, and you also have to be able to think outside of the box sometimes, because, you know, when you're thinking about someone to talk to about a story, you always have, you know, a direct line of who would be the best person to talk to. But sometimes those specific people aren't available, and you have to think of other avenues that can also give you the pertinent information that you're looking for. So I think the most important thing coming into this industry is just a fierceness to work and a fierceness to go after what you're looking for. A lot of times you have to realize that people don't work for you. You have to kind of go out there and pursue them in, you know, the same way that you would for anything else where you're trying to find information. You have to be someone that's able to really dig beyond just what someone tells you on the surface, because there's always so much more brewing below, you know, just the surface level of what people say or what they think, or even the question that you pose. There's always a lot more. So being able to scrape information for, you know, the real core of the issue that you're addressing is very, very important.
I started my internship last year, 2018, January. Initially I was supposed to work for 6 months, but then they extended it, and now I'm permanent. I was initially recruited under the investigative unit, but I also work simultaneously with the newsroom. Part of our course at NUS for the final semester requires you to get an internship for 6 months. So in 2017 I was looking for internships to do for the following year. And that's when I saw that the Namibian was offering a post for intern journalists for the investigative unit. I've never done any investigative reporting or dabbled in that, but then I thought that would be a good opportunity for me to actually try print journalism, since that is my actual love, writing. What surprised me most about the newsroom was how patient my colleagues were when I was writing, figuring out how to write stories, story ideas. I had a few colleagues that were my go-to all the time if I needed questions and if I wanted them to proofread my article. Another thing is just coming into the newsroom, I didn't think that it would be an open office with just everyone sitting everywhere, and sometimes it can get a bit loud. Sometimes it's we just laugh and just share food and everything. So just that having everyone close to you was a good and a bad. It was good in the sense of just having, if you immediately needed help, you could kind of just wheel your chair to the person next to you and say, hey, I need help with this story, or I need help with like an opinion on something. And the bad is when you wanted to concentrate and then it was too loud. But what I realized helped was having earphones to block everyone out. I think my advice for anyone that wants to apply for this internship program is just give it a go. When I initially applied, I didn't know how the process would be or whether I would be accepted, because I only had experience in broadcast and didn't have anything in print. So I would just say try. Immediately, if you see anything on our online platforms, send through your CV, call back if you don't hear anything, just to find out how the process is. One good thing about our internship program is that it's not strictly for journalists. We also try to look for other type of specialities like economic reporters, so that we can just also understand certain articles that we have. So my advice is try for it. It's not strictly, you don't have to have a journalism degree. You can be second year, first year, as long as you have what it takes. If you're committed, if you're hardworking, then do it.
I did my internship from September 2018 until February 2019. I would come into the office and I would mainly work on hard news, so breaking stories, features. I would be at the office from 8 in the morning until usually 5 in the afternoon or 4. And interviews. Okay, the best part of the program was the fact that I wouldn't say mastered writing, but I became more comfortable and more professional in my writing. And while at the Namibian, I learned more about politics and how that works and how they kind of relates to everyday people. So the best part of my internship was working with Emmanuel, who's a seasoned journalist, just like seeing how he kind of functions and does his thing, and that rubbing off on me. Also, the editors that worked here when I was there, like Wanda Guchu and Christoph Maletsky and Teresia. I really learned a lot from fellow journalists like Danki and Blomi. They kind of like guided me along the way, kind of like gave me hints here and there for stories and headlines and how I should do my interviews and all of that. So that was nice. The challenging part about my internship was the fact that I had to come to work from 8 till 5 every day and then go to school from 5 till 10 in the evenings. So finding the balance was difficult at first. After a month and a half, I really became more comfortable and I could balance it. My advice would be, don't expect to be babysat. I wouldn't say I expected that, but like once I remember my first week at the newsroom, it was like, write the story, and it's like somehow they expected me to just like be a pro at it, and I wasn't. Advice would also be, know your politics, know your ministers, know who's in charge, memorize the names so you don't blunder, be open-minded. Write down people's names when you interview them, and don't be late for work like I was.
Hi, my name is Tutaleni Phineas. I'm an investigative researcher with the Namibian newspaper for the Investigative desk, and I was the first intern for the Investigative desk in 2017 here at the Namibian. My experiences of being the first intern at the unit was exciting. It was a big opportunity for a small me. I was intimidated by the newsroom and the personalities in the newsroom, but I found it easier when I learned to communicate with the people around here, and working as a team also helped because there's a lot of personalities in the newsroom, and if you don't have interpersonal skills and you can't communicate your story well, there'll be a lot of challenges. But if you're willing to learn and overcome these little challenges, it will be definitely an easy experience.
Those interested in interning for the unit can send their CVs to investigations@namibian.com.na.